How
are you, sir?
Good morning, Judge. How are you?
Sir.
We don't know. We know he was last night. He's got a full battery. Yeah. Yeah. I'm running up and down those steps. No, it was fast. Yeah. There's no reason to get up and down.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good.
And I'll try to remember to say that, Ivy.
Okay. My favorite group for no, very good.
My word. Same with the gym, though. They are
Because we're the right age, like we fit all the demographics.
Well, then you guys.
Correct, that's true. We do have a Chris, we'll take your memory.
Good morning, y'all. Welcome to the Spring Board of Governors meeting, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Appreciate all of y'all being here. I hope nobody had to come down this morning through the rain and the storm, but it does look like it's clearing up. So hopefully everyone will have safe travels back today or tomorrow whenever you depart. To start off with, let me just make the standard Zoom tips for those who are appearing virtually, and they are as follows. Chat is enabled, but it will not be monitored for questions. Please be aware of what you're putting in the Zoom chat, as it is open to the public, members of the media that may be present, and anybody can see those comments. So just be mindful of that as we go through the morning. If you have a question and do not wish to speak, by raising your hand and being acknowledged, you may use the Q&A feature, and Damon will monitor the Q&A for us and let us know if there is such a question. To be seen or heard, to be raised up, if you are virtual, just raise your hand and you will be acknowledged. Damon, I think you're in charge of that as well. Sorry, my friend. Okay. Polls may only be voted on by board members. If you're only using the call-in number and you're not on your computer or smart device, you will not be able to vote. For voting, we're using these clickers or the Point Solution software, not the Zoom poll. So please don't try to vote on Zoom poll. And your attendance, for those of you attending virtually, will be captured automatically by a report. So please enter your full name so that we ensure that Chris has a chance to have accurate attendance records. Lastly, I wanted to mention, if y'all want drinks, coffee or drinks during the meeting, you don't have to go outside. There's a drink station back here for your convenience. Okay. At this time, I'd like to ask my law school classmate and good friend, Mark Alexander, to come up here and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Y'all stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Joyce, Gist, Lewis, you're on for the invocation, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to thank President Akins for inviting me to give the invocation this morning. I know it's a little bit of a rainy morning, but this is the beginning of spring. It is a time of renewal in many of the major faiths. And I hope that our presence here and our participation on this board will allow us to be renewed. And with that, Creator of all wisdom, beauty, and mercy, guide the lawyers and judges here today, that we may lift the voices of those who thirst for justice. Let us be a beacon for the wronged and support each other in striving for truth and integrity in our profession. Give us the grace to be mindful of our responsibilities to our entire human family and the humility to remember that nothing we achieve is done alone. We each owe a debt to those who paved the way for us, and that debt can only be repaid by lifting those who come after us and who look to us for leadership. On this day, grant us wisdom and awareness. Keep us away from foolishness and pretension. Grant us a share in every blessing. So say we all.
Thank you, Joyce. That's a perfect way to start the morning, and I appreciate that tone you just set for our meeting. At this time, I'd like to recognize the special guests that we have with us. We are honored to have many members of the court and some past presidents as well. With us today is Presiding Justice Peterson, Justice Hawkins, Justice Ellington, Justice LaGrua, Justice Colvin, and Justice Pinson. Also joining us today are Judge Ken Hodges and Judge Ben Land. We are delighted to have past presidents as follows: Bill Barwick, Elizabeth Fite, Ken Hodges, Dawn Jones, who I believe is appearing with us virtually, Paul Kilpatrick, and John Salmon. Would y'all please stand and let us recognize you and thank you for your service, please? I see you, Justice Peterson. Okay. All right, Chris, roll call.
Good morning, everyone. Roll call sheets have been distributed, so please remember to sign. And for those who are participating virtually, again, properly identify yourself so that we can count you present.
Yes. Next on the agenda is the future meetings, and you will see those in your board book. I will also mention that Tony is finalizing the dates and places for the meetings that will occur during his bar year. So stay tuned to find out about those in the very near future. Next is our first action item, Mr. Twyman.
Good morning again. Page 11, mid-year minutes. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. I will go ahead and state one amendment or correction that we'll make, which just states that the meeting was held virtually, but it was a hybrid meeting. So we'll make that change. With that change, or other than that change, are there any other amendments to the minutes as printed? All right, Madam President, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Is there a second? Any discussion? No? All right, we got a poll. Oh, a test poll question first to check us out, make sure we got our stuff working. Oh, yeah. Oh, D, please. Come on. That better not get any votes.
You prefer cake? Cookie?
Servant leader.
Laughing.
Oh, ask if anyone needs a clicker. Oh, does anyone need a clicker? Judge Whitaker needs a clicker. All right, as soon as Judge Whitaker votes, we can close the poll. Oh, boo. Okay, cake is the winner. All right. Next on the agenda, Mr. Cadle, is talk about the dues for the next bar year. Oh, sorry. Thought we were all done. Okay. Next poll question, please, before we get to the treasurer's report. If that's the worst mistake I make today, Paul. It'll be okay. Okay. All right, thanks, David Lipscomb, for not voting for the minutes. All right, now let's go to the next item on the agenda. Mr. Cadle, we're going to hear about the dues for next year, and Ivy's also going to give us his treasurer's report, so that'll be a bit out of order.
Good morning. I hope everyone is well and enjoying your time here at the lodge. The dues report and the fiscal condition of the bar report are made very easy for me, and they have been, frankly. And so today I want to express gratitude to Ron and his staff, the state bar staff. If you look at the budget, we have remained consistent in where we are in budget. And we have a pool of unallocated cash that has grown over time because our state bar staff consistently come in under budget. And so in looking at where we are, so as you see, we have if you look at the budget, I think we're budgeted for about $500,000, we'll use round numbers, about $500,000 shortfall. The expectation that has been established over time and that Ron has looked at is that we will come in under budget. And by the end of the year, that will flip and be somewhere slightly in the plus. So as an organization that exists to program and to benefit its members, I would say we are doing our job because we are using the resources that are allocated to us to put on programs and to spend and to do things on behalf of our members. So that is all good news, in my opinion. The more tricky thing is that over time we have accumulated what I think, Martin, for the record, I did pull that number up, $9,111,627. Are we in agreement at this time? Oh, good Lord, we're blessed. So there is a substantial, very well, same. Same. There is a substantial amount of money that has accumulated because of the efficiencies that this organization has achieved over time in budgeting and beating budget. And State Bar staff, Damon, this is a moment of gratitude for you, has climbed through the bowels of the building, has given you all the opportunities you may want to come through the bowels of the building and come through the organization to find opportunities. We have, we raised pay for our staff last year. And we have a capital improvement plan. I think we've got some plumbing program, some plumbing system that relies on Windows NT or some such system out there that doesn't exist anymore, except for this one computer in the bar building. So we're going to probably need to replace that. Nonetheless, we anticipate being able to do all these things in conjunction with the finance committee, in conjunction with our investment advisors, and taking into account the current economic conditions. And largely part of the reason for this is out of consideration of our members, is to not raise dues this year. So dues were 260, they will be 260. Same thing in active dues were 130, they will be 130. And you have the dues statement there. The dues statement is, I don't believe there were any changes from last year. If I'm mistaken, somebody can check me on that, but is largely the same as what, I mean, we are redoing what we did last year. Yes, Mark.
My 9.5 is what Rob's predicting as of this coming June 30th.
Well, we're not in the time machine yet. So we're going to stay right here, Callaway Lodge. I like your anticipation of the future though. Nonetheless, so with that, you know, we're doing the same thing we were doing. We did a lot of hard work pre-COVID to look at the budget, to look at programming, to figure out where we were and what we needed to be doing. We then had a global pandemic, and I think we're starting to sort out what the world looks like after the global pandemic. Lord willing, we don't have another one, and be about the business of the bar, have great meetings like this in person where we get to see everybody. And this $0 increase will allow us to continue on that trajectory and to do that good work. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Or are there questions other than from Martin? He's out. All right, hurry. What somebody thinks so.
All right. Is there a motion on the dues proposal as it is listed in your bar book? Okay, is there a second? Thank you, Martin. Is there any discussion, any questions, any comments anybody wants to make? All right, good job, Ivy. You answered them all. All right, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Slow clap. All right, so here we need a yes, I approve, or no, I do not approve, no bar dues increase. And remember, only the Board of Governors vote. Great. I want to know who the 6 people are and did they want to increase them or decrease them or what? I'm not sure, but at any rate, that passes by a wide margin. So thank y'all very much. All right, next on the agenda is the president's report. So let me just kind of fill y'all in on some things that have been going on. I first want to mention we had, as I mentioned, I think in January, told you that we were going to have this real big professionalism CLE. Well, that in fact happened at the Bar Center in late February, and it was absolutely wonderful. We had a sold out in-person crowd, and we also had about 250 people who appeared virtually and watched. The panelists were really, really good, and we were fortunate enough to have a lot of participation by the court. We had Justice Colvin was on our panel, as well as Chief Justice Boggs gave us some opening remarks, Justice McMillan, Justice Pinson, and also Judge Pipkin, as well as former Chief Justice Harold Melton. So it was really, really well well attended and supported by the court, and that is very much appreciated. We also had, as part of the program, the idea of the program was to kind of look back at the start of the professionalism movement and how did it start, what was the genesis of it, and then moving forward to look at, the professionalism things going forward. And one of the things that stood out to me as I listened to the panel members, and we also had Jim Elliott, who was on the panel, who was very instrumental in starting it. John Salmon was also kind enough to give us his time as well. And what stood out to me the most, I think, is if you look at those initial original documents that spawned the professionalism movement and the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, many of the same issues were being struggled with 30 or 40 years ago. And that was interesting to me. So I think that some of the things that we often think, such as, oh, it's so much worse now, I don't know that that's true. And I think a lot of things are a whole lot better as we've become more aware of each other and how we should conduct ourselves. But certainly the panelists did a really nice job of making what had a potential to be rather dry material interesting and brought it to life. And I'm looking at Justice Colvin because she was very instrumental in making that happen. So I just wanted to let y'all know that was very successful. And that was all due to the work of Carlise and to the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism CLE Committee. And Rebecca Greist was our mistress of ceremonies, and she did a fabulous job leading us through the program. So I would like to thank them and give them a round of applause for that. And speaking of professionalism, you won't have to hear that next year as much when I'm not up here, that word anyway. But on Monday, I'm proud to report that due to the hard work of the Professionalism Committee, Governor Kemp signed a proclamation making April Legal Professionalism Month. So that was a long road to get that done. So that's well appreciated. And along those lines, we had the opportunity to visit the Capitol and receive the proclamation from the governor on Monday. And so that was quite a treat. And I hadn't been to the Capitol during the legislative session in a while. So to see everybody scurrying around was fun as well. Other news is I would like to give kudos to my fellow officers as well as the executive committee. And I just want y'all to know that it's really, really nice to be in this position when you serve with people that you not only respect, but that you like a whole lot. And it's a really, really good group who works very well together, both the small group of officers as well as your executive committee, and move things forward and really get things done. And so I just really want to say thanks to those members. The other thing that I have had the pleasure of doing over this course of this year is to work very closely with Damon and Paula and Sarah. We have a weekly Zoom meeting and they keep me very well informed on what's going on. And I've had a chance to spend a good deal of time at the bar headquarters in Atlanta. And that's given me a really nice idea of how hard our bar staff works to make everything run smoothly. And so I just want y'all to know that your bar is in good hands with the people that we have doing the hard work for us. You've probably noticed that, and I think Alyssa started it, that the YLD now has most of their meetings with the big bar. And that was done for several reasons, one of which was to save costs in terms of not having to duplicate, meals and meetings and all of that, which was a very good reason. But I think more importantly is the chance for us, the big bar, to see how hard the YLD works. Y'all might have seen that they were collecting dresses outside here, ball gowns to give to the military people, military women. I guess we should have also collected tuxedos and suits, but we didn't think about that, I guess. But Operation Dress, is that right, Jessica? Operation Deploy the Dress. So that's going on out there, and that's a really great service project. And as y'all know, the YLD is our service arm, and they certainly do a fantastic job. I will also mention that we will repeat Operation Deploy the Dress in Savannah at the annual meeting so that we can also have some clothes to give to Fort Stewart into Hunter Army Airfield. So that'll be on the agenda as well. If y'all didn't know that, now you do. Okay. So. I would also like to mention that the coastal office, the Savannah office, is open and running and being used quite a bit. And would like to thank Damon for his leadership in getting us just the right spot with really nice facilities that I think the membership in our area of the state is really benefiting from. So appreciate you doing that for us. Lastly, I'll mention that we are looking forward to an annual meeting returning to Savannah. And looking forward to having y'all down there in June. So with that, you have heard the president's remarks. All right, second mistake, Paula. All right, I thought we only had to do it once, but now apparently we got to do part 2. So Jennifer, would you please give us, I was so excited to give y'all my remarks. Could you give us the second poll question? Is that it? All right, so the other bar due statement items are part 2. If you're looking at your board book, everybody with me? I'm the only one who was confused. Okay. There's approval of the other bar due statement items, and that's the section dues, $10 to $40, and that's an opt-in on your bars due statement. And then the assessments required by the bar rules or mandated by the Supreme Court. That's the client security fund at $15 per member, the professionalism fee at $11 a year, and then the other contributions, which are all opt-in, they are all voluntary, are legislative, and then the Georgia Legal Services Program, which you can voluntarily contribute to if you so desire. You may do so on your bars due statement. All right, ready to vote? Okay, let's close it. Great, that passes too. All right, now pretend I just gave you a wonderful president's report in the right order on the agenda. And now we will, and now we'll go to the executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Justice Peterson, other members of the court, members of the board, and friends. From an operations standpoint, I won't need much time for a report. I will tell you here and always, I'm very excited about the work our staff has been engaged in and how they are supporting our members, providing value, and generally making things better. We have been working hard, and fortunately, it's a less hectic time of year. So just allow me a few moments to share an update on recent good work coming out of select departments, some that you've already heard about. Our Young Lawyers Division and the work that Jessica and Jamie do, particularly with success in our signature fundraiser and the events that they have going on at this meeting. Our high school mock trial program and the work that Rich has done to get us through state levels, and particularly with the support of volunteers like you all in helping to drive that program. We had a really successful year this year. Our ICLE and CLE departments, where we are doing both improving programming, making it more engaging, seeing upticks in trends in attendance, and then also doing things that are important to our members relating to the regulation part. And our governmental affairs team driven by Christine, where you'll hear a comprehensive report today, but the work that she's done in helping us get through the legislative session to this point. Speaking of a team, I want to acknowledge the retirement announced for 2 long-serving employees. Some of you may have heard, but you may not know. Brenda Lovern in membership has announced her retirement, and Rita Payne, the director of fee arbitration, has announced her retirement. Both are effective at the end of the bar year, beginning the next bar year, and we are more than grateful for the time that they have spent with us. Brenda since 2001, so 22 years, And Rita has been with the bar since 1978, so over 45 years. Yeah, she celebrated her anniversary on Thursday. We had a good time celebrating with her and very grateful for the contributions that she's made. Finally, Sally and Ivy have hinted in some of the work that we've done and given you a report on the major information on financials. So there's nothing else that I have. I will tell you, we have been keeping watch of the banking world, particularly as it affects bar accounts. There are no major concerns that we have, especially with our relationship with Truist and a larger bank. We do have some creative options that we may consider in the future, and we just ambushed Nancy last night to share an update that we got, but we'll talk about those a little bit more. And then the other question concerned IOLTA accounts, and have been reminded from them and our general counsel's office that any banks on the approved list are all FDI insured up to the limits and the regulations that are governed there. So that's all I got. So I want to thank you for the work that you do for our members, which thereby improves the quality of legal services. If there's anything that we can ever do to help you in your work, never hesitate to contact us. Thanks, Alan.
Ivy, I'm giving you a second shot. We got plenty of time this morning.
No.
Nothing else? Okay, all right. And I also got chastised because I knew we had a rather short agenda this morning. And so I told Ron Daniels that he could talk as long as he wanted to for his YLD report. But I quickly got shut down. So next on the agenda is Ron.
It's a little bit of an obstacle course. Good morning. I again have a PowerPoint, if we could bring that up. Welcome to the Young Lawyers Division's President Report in about 3 minutes or less. Went too fast. Good morning. Please clap. So this is why I didn't want to do this. In about 3 minutes. First thing I want to tell you about is we were honored on February the 8th of this year by Senate Resolution 100. Please clap. So this is why I didn't want to do this. 75 years of service. First thing I want to tell you about is we were honored on February the 8th of this year by Senate Resolution 100. I want to thank President Pro Tem of the Senate, Senator John F. Kennedy, for arranging that. James Banner, one of our YLD members, worked closely with him. They recognize our 75 years of service to the public and to the profession. It was quite an honor for us. The Senate resolution is going to be available, I think, in your materials at annual meeting. So I do ask you to read that. It was a great experience. And I know even John Salmon watched us from Blue Ridge on television on GPTV, which was quite a thing for the YLD. We had our signature fundraiser, if I can get this clicker to work. We had it back at the start of this month. I am proud to say that we had over 130 people in the building in Macon, Georgia. But more importantly, we raised $50,000 to be split between Middle Georgia Justice and the Georgia Legal Services Program. On a more practical note, last Friday on St. Patrick's Day, we had 2 different CLEs going on. We had over 120 people logged in virtually for CLEs on St. Patrick's Day of all days. One was in conjunction with the appellate practice section in Atlanta Bar Association, focusing on improving writing skills with Right Law. The other was an ethics one. We were very excited to have Justice Bethel and many other guests participate in that one. But 120 people on a Friday, that's pretty good.
Not anybody from Savannah, I can guarantee you.
Well, y'all were a little busy. I'm trying to make this clicker work, I promise. I want to congratulate Jonesboro High School for winning the 2023 high school mock trial competition. Thank you to everyone who participated and judged, either as a presiding judge or an evaluator, or as a coach, or just as a sounding board for a team. I actually got a chance to preside over the first round that Jonesboro participated in last Saturday. They were really good. I'm not really surprised they won because they were very, very good. We're going to move right along. Finally, the Legal Food Frenzy is coming up. If you take your phone out, all you got to do is hold your camera up to that little box with the black and white dots. It'll take you to where you need to go. You'll be hearing more about the legal food frenzy as you do every year. And that is the Wild D's President's Report. And I would let the record show that I have 2 seconds left.
Well done, Ron. Thank you very much. Next, we have Christine, who I see in the back of the room, to give us a legislative update. As y'all know, Wednesday is sine die, so she is going to tell us what's happened so far, and I guess maybe tell us what you think might happen, if anybody knows. But let me just tell you, watching Christine in action is unbelievable. She works really, really hard on behalf of the bar, and knows her way around the Capitol and does a really, really good job for us. So with that, Christine.
Well, thank you, Sally. I appreciate that. And Sally and the group of folks that worked on that professionalism proclamation, like she said, came down and they were scurrying around the Capitol on Monday. And it's a busy time down there. So they got to see everything in full action. And so it's been a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun having them down there as well. In terms of our legislative package, we are almost across the finish line on everything. We have one more bill that needs a vote on day 39 or 40. The comprehensive nonprofit code rewrite, which the nonprofit law section worked on, that's SB 148. It passed on Tuesday and is now on the governor's desk. We had a great sponsor in Senator Kennedy with that. And the folks in the section worked so extensively on it over the course of, I think, 2 years. And they were really great working with all the different members of the General Assembly to explain the changes that were made and the economic impact that nonprofits have in the state of Georgia. HB 182, which is the real property sections bill that fixes an 11th Circuit decision, or fixes a piece that was brought up in an 11th Circuit decision dealing with attested and acknowledged deeds. That has gotten off of is on the Senate rules calendar, which means we're hoping that they will take it up on the floor on day 39 or 40. HB 80, which is now the Uniform Unsworn Foreign Declarations Act. We got that out of the Senate this week, and we just need an agree vote before that goes to the governor. That particular proposal, which was on the mid-year agenda, has evolved a little bit. It originally was for all unsworn declarations, not just foreign ones. So you could sign an affidavit in a proceeding and not need a notary for it. And that was changed in the House at the request of leadership because there was uncertainty about it, to only apply to declarations that are made in a foreign country because of how difficult it is to get a notary there. So the Uniform Law Commission has a specific bill for foreign declarations. And so that's what we moved over to. And it, like I said, passed in the Senate this week. There were 2 proposals that the executive committee took up in February that also went through ACL that were not through the regular process just because the General Assembly had already started. One of them is HB 543, which is from the Council of State Court Judges, and it would raise the threshold for requesting a 12-person jury to $100,000. So you could request a 6-person jury for anything less than 100. The executive committee voted to support that. It was changed in committee in the Senate to a $50,000 threshold, and it is on the rules calendar in the Senate for the final days. So we are keeping an eye on that to see what happens. And the other bill that they voted to support was House Bill 419, which is a bill that is in conjunction with the realtors that has to do with 40-year listing agreements that are being signed by individuals and then recorded as liens. It had created a lot of problems in terms of property records. And there's actually been a lot of news reports about it. And so the real property section was interested in seeing the bar get this bill through. And so we got our final agree vote, and that one's headed to the governor's desk as well. In terms of budget, since that's always a hot topic, it looks like the state has funded the 3 judgeships that have been requested through the Judicial Council. That's Coweta, Doherty Judicial Circuit, and Atlanta Judicial Circuit. The Senate, interestingly, also funded an additional judgeship for Augusta. We're keeping an eye on that to see if the conference committee comes out and agrees with that one as well. And adds it to the bills that are required when you ask for an additional judgeship going through the General Assembly. in terms of the legal aid funding, there's full funding right now for the civil legal services grants for victims of domestic violence and the kinship care grants. The Senate did make some cuts to the appropriations for the proposed medical legal partnerships, which was a new grant this year. And we're looking to hopefully see that the conference committee restores that money. And I think it was a priority that the Chief Justice spoke about during his State of the Judiciary address this year. And overall, I think that's everything that this board has approved that we've been working on during the General Assembly. Of course, there's a ton of other stuff going down under the Gold Dome during this time of year. And we've been lucky to work with all the other judicial stakeholder groups, all of the councils and the other groups like GTLA, Georgia Criminal Defense Attorneys, just going back and forth on different things that are going on around there. So we are always thankful for their partnerships and their support. A couple of things one thing that did not come back this year was remote online notary. I know y'all have heard that extensively about that. There was a bill that was filed after crossover day that deals with the issue, but it apparently was something that they did not want to take up this year, but it's something we will continue to keep an eye on. I know that a lot of lawyers during the pandemic used the executive order, with the influx of technology and the way that things are moving, are interested to see that through. So, and the last couple of days, some wild things can happen. But fortunately, knock on wood, everything's been calm on the bar side this year, which we are very grateful for. And I attribute to the even hand of Sally and her leadership, as well as the rest of the leadership and the officers this year. And if you have any questions, please find me in the back of the room, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have on specific bills. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Christine, for your report and for all your hard work. You'll see next that there are various written reports that you can look at in probably the skinniest board book I can recall ever, but they're all contained in here. And what I'd like to do now is ask if there is any old business to come before the Board of Governors. All right, there is one item of new business, and that's Carlise will give us a report on the Chief Justice Commission on professionalism.
Good morning. Just briefly, Sally has already updated you all on the CLE that we had, but we could not have had the CLE without her vision and leadership. And so, Sally, this is just something to remind you of the day.
Oh,
and
that
to
is
say
fantastic.
thank you. Former Chief Justice Marshall had said at one time, we have a duty to set an example that makes all of the members of our profession, both old and new, aware once more of the concept of professionalism and its importance. And he said that back in 1988. And I want to thank you for reminding us of that duty for more seasoned lawyers like you and I who've been at it for 30 plus years. That we have an obligation to pass that on. And thank you for your vision and leadership, because otherwise the CLE would not have happened. So I just wanted to thank you and acknowledge you before your peers for all you do to promote professionalism.
Thank you, Carlise. Take my glasses off. I wouldn't have put you on the agenda.
That's okay. And one more quick thing, is Carlos Fallela here? Carlos, coming up. In addition to the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, we have a State Bar Committee on Professionalism that the Chief Justice Commission on Professionalism staffs. And it's the newer, younger generation that's coming along. And Sally mentioned the resolution to you, but Carlos was the brainchild behind the resolution. He's one of our members for the State Bar Committee on Professionalism, and we worked on it for 3 years. Carlos did. So I wanted Carlos to talk about it. So Carlos.
Good morning. I left my speech over there. So, yeah, as
We got time if you want to go. Got nothing but time this morning.
I would like to thank everyone for their, no, no, thank you very much. In 2020, this kind of began as an idea of, okay, what can we do during the pandemic to do some sort of event or something to recognize professionalism. Normally, what we did in the month of April was a take your colleague out to lunch campaign, which unfortunately, in the middle of a pandemic, having people sit together in close quarters was just not going to happen. So we kind of started looking around for different ideas and came across Professionalism Day that certain other states and other entities had recognized. And I said, well, Georgia can do a month. And so we drafted up an initial resolution, and I kind of presented it to the leadership of the Professionalism Committee, and they said, we love it, but we need to edit it. And there began a pretty long and really fun editing process for about a couple of years. And we presented the resolution to the Legislative Committee, and in turn, we presented it to the Board of Governors, I believe, earlier this year, and they all approved it. And we said, okay, great. So which chamber is going to do it? And 3 weeks ago, we get an email from Ms. Hayes saying, oh, it's no chamber. The governor's office wants to do it. And so we're like, not the branch we thought, but cool. And so here we are with this very lovely proclamation from the governor's office. And it reads, whereas the State Bar of Georgia advocates for all members of the Georgia Bar to be civil with one another during their representation of clients, and whereas collegiality among counsel is critical to the effective and efficient adjudication of cases and controversies before Georgia's courts. And whereas decreased collegiality and professionalism between opposing counsel leads to increased hostility between litigants in Georgia's court system, and whereas increased collegiality between counsel and litigants may result in decreased costs to parties of a lawsuit, while increased collegiality and decreased hostility between counsel and litigants may result in decreased costs for Georgia's courts to administer justice. And whereas legal professionalism may help instill public trust and confidence in the legal system, and whereas in the spirit of collegiality and encouraging adversaries to join in the spirit of connecting with one another to foster positive professional relationships, the State Bar of Georgia's Committee of Professionalism has created an event to encourage collegiality among its members. Now I, Governor Brian B. Kemp, Governor of the State of Georgia, to hereby proclaim April 2023 as Legal Professionalism Month in the state of Georgia. So we have a whole month, and we are, as a professionalism.
But thank you. Thank you for spearheading us and shepherding us around the council, and for your leadership and helping us get this done. We couldn't have done it without you.
Right. You want to see it? Okay. Thank y'all very much. Thank you, Carlise, for everything you do. Carlise certainly always has professionalism as top of mind, so we get along famously together. Is there any other new business to come before the Board of Governors on this March day? What? Oh, the sun's out, Ivy says. All right. Does anyone have any announcements? No? All right. Any need to go into executive session? Nope. Any remarks, Q&A, comments, or suggestions? I don't know why they put that on there. Okay. Come to the mic, please. Yeah, we got time.
A couple of meetings ago, we talked about Zoom and if we were going to continue doing that or phasing it out. And I know there was a lot of discussion about the cost. So I was just wondering if there was any follow-up to that discussion for future meetings. I think y'all mentioned it was already budgeted in maybe, but was there any discussion about whether that would continue indefinitely? Or if there were certain meetings where you were going to not have Zoom options? I was just curious.
It is on the executive committee's agenda for our April meeting. And the executive committee has asked the meetings department for some data so we can actually do an analysis of how much it costs and all of those things. And so I suspect that in the very near future, you will hear some more information about that. I will also mention that I think I'm right about this, but somebody, Jennifer, maybe you're the one to correct me, somebody, Sarah, I don't know. I think for Tony's meetings, that's probably already going to happen because those meetings are in the pipeline. I believe that's right. Is that right? Nobody knows? Okay, we don't know, but we think it's true. Okay, all right, we don't know, so stay tuned. Thank you for your question. How was that for a very clear answer? Right, yeah, reach out to us because we'd like to know, what the desire of the body is. But definitely there'll be a discussion about it at the executive committee meeting in April. Any other things along those lines for remarks or comments or questions that somebody might be able to answer? No? All right, I just would like it to be, and I think we're being recorded. I'm pretty sure that I might have just beat Buck Rogers for the fastest meeting. I didn't, Javon, no? Dang, okay. For y'all that have been on the board for a while, I do recall, I think it was a meeting at Jekyll or something, and we were going on to the Florida-Georgia game. And yes, I did say Florida Georgia game. And it was like, whoa, I felt like I just sat down and it was like, time to get on the bus, let's go. But anyway, we did get the meeting work done that time and we've gotten it done today. And I appreciate y'all and the meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all.